Hey guys, it's your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, I have my Dallas Cowboys hat on. In a way, because we're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez again. And to me, Canelo Alvarez is kind of like the Dallas Cowboys in that people either love Canelo or hate him, but they all like to talk about Canelo Alvarez. And so it's kind of like that with the Cowboys.
Who hates Canelo?
There's a lot of people out there who hate Canelo. Canelo Alvarez, the big news out yesterday is that Canelo Alvarez is being stripped of the IBF middleweight title.
Yes.
Remember we
I
talked.
received the press release.
You did.
With the statement from
Oscar
De La
Oscar
Hoya
sent you
that was very indignant, and he will take all legal action too.
And here's the thing, Oscar: live by the alphabet titles, die by the alphabet titles. Canelo Alvarez is the lineal middleweight champion. He's the real middleweight champion. He did that when he defeated. Actually, he did that a long time ago when he defeated Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto was the lineal champion because, again, tracked it back to Sergio Martinez, who's the lineal champion. Canelo's been the lineal middleweight champion. And if there was any kind of, wondering about it was he the real middleweight champion, when he beat Gennady Golovkin, he certainly solidified his standing as the true middleweight champion. So to me, I get Oscar's statement and stuff, but this is how it works. Apparently, he couldn't come to terms with Sergey Derevyanchenko, who was up for that, the next man up for that Canelo Alvarez.
It was a mandatory.
Date. Yeah. And so now, basically what will probably happen is that Derevyanchenko will fight somebody else for the vacant IBF title. And Canelo is free to choose, although he's getting less free to choose, right? We heard first Sergey Kovalev, maybe, a third fight with Gennady Golovkin, Sergey Derevyanchenko. Now we're down to Demetrius Andrade. To me, out of these four fights, taking away Kovalev, which I was like, really? You're going to move him like lightweight? So I would actually rather see, just me personally, Kelsey Carson, I'd rather see him fight Andrade.
Right.
I was wondering what you thought about that, and if you had similar thoughts, or if they were completely different.
No, I agree. I don't know who the Derevyanchenko guy is. Which is usually seems like the case with me with mandatory challengers.
Yeah. Well, you've seen him fight before.
Okay.
But you don't. He didn't.
So I just don't recall.
He's not really a big name, just like Oscar said.
Right.
He's not in really a position. So
what are mandatory challengers always not big names? I don't understand.
No, it's just this is people work their way up in the sanctioning bodies or organizations. They tell you kind of what you should do to become a mandatory title challenger, and you do those things and you get that date. Sometimes it's a whole mess. That thing is just part of our culture, and I don't want to knock it because it is a firmly entrenched part of our culture, but it does get a little bit.
I don't understand why Oscar is so up in arms about it. Isn't this a standard thing that organizations do
this? Yeah, that's what I mean.
Where they have a mandatory, and then they have all the control, right? There is a mandatory. And in some cases, they just waive it, right? They're like, oh, you don't have to fight this mandatory. You can keep your belt. And in some cases, they're like, you have to fight this mandatory or you lose your belt. And that's what they did in this situation. Yeah, the sanctioning organizations are full of political machinations that are very difficult to follow, partially because there's not a lot of sharing of how all that works. Because I don't think they really want you to see truly under the hood. And then for another reason, sanctioning organizations do things that they say they won't do, right? They do that all the time. We heard that the WBA was going to get rid of all their different title holders. They actually added another one, a gold, right? A WBA gold champion. And then you see the nonsense that the WBC did recently where they elevated a fighter to full title status and made Canelo I forget what it's called, franchise champion. Right. Who knows what that means? That's why, to me, as a boxing fan, I'm okay, as a reporter, as a journalist, if somebody holds one of the four major title belts that are alphabet organizations, that's the WBA, WBC, WBO, or IBF. And it has to be their very top one. So if you're the franchise champion, to me, that's the top one. If you're the super WBA champion, if you have one of those four, I'll put that in my story. If you have anything else that's under that, I'll call you a secondary world title holder, and I'll leave it at that. You know the fight I would like to see with Canelo?
What?
Canelo versus the alphabet organizations. And how about this? Just do this, because I think it'd be rowdy. Canelo, just drop all your titles. You are the lineal champion.
You are the champ.
How about you just say, I'm not going to pay these sanctioning fees anymore for these belts, which are all convoluted and like all this stuff, and just drop them all. And let's just see what happens.
Yeah, it would be a bold move. It's not something that hasn't been done before, but it is something that hasn't happened often. And honestly, like the people that did it before, it had no effect on the boxing world. In fact, we've gotten more alphabet titles than ever today.
But who did it? But like a big name did it before?
There's been people that have done similar things in the past. So, for instance, when Carlos Baldemir fought Zab Judah, he didn't want to pay the sanctioning fees for that, and so he ended up winning the fight, but didn't get the title belts. There's people like that. Larry Holmes infamously dropped one of his alphabet titles. This is when the alphabet champions became kind of like the new thing, was during the 1980s, maybe late 70s, early 1980s. He dropped one of those belts and became the champion of another alphabet belt, etc. So I don't know.
I'm just saying that, like, so how many belts does Canelo have? Like right now, like we said, he's a lineal.
He's got the Ring magazine belt, which is not part of this. What we're talking about. He's the WBC franchise champion. Okay. ESPN lists Jermall Charlo as the full WBC champion, which is true. And then you have Demetrius Andrade, like we said before, was the WBO champion. Canelo also has the Ring magazine championship belt, which they don't have to pay sanctioning fees for. They don't.
So that's not part of this. So all I'm saying is, what if Canelo, he's such a big name, he has 2 belts right now. He had 3, but he's getting stripped of 1, correct?
Correct.
So, like, what if he's just like, you know what?
Well, yeah.
And then fight Andrade, get that belt, and then in the ring, like, do a big thing, like light it on fire. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, something like that. What's interesting is the WBC franchise champ. So now that I'm remembering this whole story that came out, my understanding of the franchise champ is that it's sort of like the WBC has something called the Emeritus Champ, or Champion Recess. So when Vitaly Klitschko retired the first time, he maintained status as the champion in recess, I think is what they called it, something like that. All that basically meant was that if he unretires, and he did unretire, he could immediately challenge for the WBC title, which he did, and he won. I think it's something similar to that, and then what the WBC is saying is, you're not the WBC middleweight champion anymore. Yeah, I don't know how it works. I don't understand it. And the stuff that I read about was at one site. I still don't understand it. Like, I'm a good reader. You know what I mean? Like, I still don't understand what they're doing with that. So I don't know. Who knows? I know that the middleweight champion of the world, according to Ring Magazine, according to the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board, according to Real Talk with Kelsey and Rachel, is Canelo Alvarez. And it's because he won it in the ring, and he hasn't lost it. So I'm interested in his next fight. That being said, a bout against Demetrius Andrade being reported that it's a possibility. That's a title unification fight. But more importantly, that's a fight between 2 of the best middleweights. And I frankly want to see Andrade in a fight against a middleweight with a pulse, because he has not really, I shouldn't say with a pulse. I want to see him up against an elite middleweight, right? Walter Kondakadok, I forgot how to say his name, but that guy, man, he was a warrior, and I don't want to knock anybody that gets in the ring, including anybody that Andrade's faced. But what I'm saying is he hadn't faced an elite middleweight. Canelo is certainly elite middleweight, and probably the most elite middleweight, one of the most elite fighters in the world right now. You know what else is elite? It's Real Talk with Kelsey and Rachel. We certainly love...
I thought you were going to say it was our subscribers.
No,
they're elite.
No, it's not them.
Okay.
It's us. What? Our subscribers are also very elite. We're all elite. The Real Talk with the Kelsey and Rachel family is super elite, and we appreciate your love and support. We love and support you back. Thanks for watching our show.